Oh man, these are rock solid. I don't know if I'm ever going to get them reactivated. Remember back a few years ago when everybody seemed to be jumping on the jelly gouache bandwagon? Yeah, me too. I got this little set of jelly gouache paints around the same time I started to get back into art during lockdowns and everything. And yeah, didn't really like them and put them away and then lost them. But we've just found them again, and so I'm going to try and revive them and see if I can get them to work for me. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, but let's jelly gouache. This is Sketching the World, and I'm Kat, a writer and artist from Australia, but my dream is to sketch the world. It's a few hours later and I want to check up and see if the paints have started soaking up that water. It looks like they have a bit, but still a long way to go before they're fully usable. It's 3 days later, so let's see how these paints have come out. I've actually left them 3 days, not so much because I wanted them to sit and activate, but because I've been sick and yeah, didn't get a chance to use them. But now I'm going to test them out and actually do a painting to show how they work and to see how I enjoy using them. So let's get painting. This is a sketch I did with the jelly gouache back in 2021. I think it's a bit simple though, so I'm going to try something a little bit more complicated today. Similar theme though. After doing a quick pencil sketch, I'm putting down a thin layer of the jelly gouache to get all the basic shapes and colours in. I keep forgetting I'm not using watercolour at this stage and that I can actually go over things. So I'm just sort of leaving things blank when I don't need to. Takes a bit of getting used to, but really it's no different to using any other gouache. Finding, yeah, the colours are fantastic for something like this, the dual colours, but I'd really like to have something darker as well. I'm back for stage 2 of this painting. I've done some stuff to it off camera because I just had it sitting on my art table, and every time I walk past, I'd look at it and do a bit of adjustment to the painting. And now I've sort of got to this stage, I really don't like it. I don't like it. But I'll keep going and see how it turns out. A lot of what I've done since I last filmed is lifting colour, because I want to get that sort of sense of the light coming through the lanterns. So yeah, just sort of getting wet paint, working it with the paintbrush and lifting the colour off. And it's quite easy to do with the Himi gouache, and on this I think it's the Strathmore. Yeah, the Strathmore paper, because that's quite tough paper. And yeah, I'll just keep working this. I also did some stuff on the bottom bit here. Don't like any of this. I might get rid of it completely. So let's go with the second stage of this painting. I'm starting to struggle a bit in this layer. I'm not sure how much of that is because of the Himi gouache and how much of it's because of my own skill level. But yeah, I think partly too because I didn't want to use my good watercolor brushes for using the Himi gouache. So the brushes I'm using aren't like top-notch brushes, and maybe using better brushes would have helped. The other thing is, yeah, some of the shapes and that of these lanterns aren't right. Like I got them wrong in the first place, and now I'm sort of fighting against that as I'm working on this piece. I probably could have moved things around a bit and got the composition better. Other thing I don't like is not having a really dark. I've added black into the paints here to get it dark enough for the dual colors to pop against it. But yeah, I would have liked a really dark indigo. That would have been fantastic. And while I continue on with this painting, just wanted to remind you, if you're enjoying my content, make sure you hit that like button. And if you're not a subscriber and want to see more content like this, subscribe. It not only helps me, but it helps to let YouTube know what content you want to see. So yeah. I'm really struggling too about what to do with the bottom bit of this picture. I was going to put a bit of the restaurant. It's actually a restaurant in Tokyo, like a food court kind of place that's got all these lanterns. It's very Instagrammable and very, yeah, touristy, but yeah, looks lovely. And yeah, I was gonna put a bit of that in, but then I found it a bit distracting and taking away, like there was too many things competing for your attention in the painting. So that's why I took all that out and just added the bluish black into the bottom. I do have to say that one particular shade of blue in the jelly gouache is such a beautiful blue. I really love it. It's the one that's almost empty. So yeah, I've obviously used that a lot. Now that I'm adding in the tassels on these lanterns, I'm really glad that I took all that stuff out of the bottom, because yeah, the tassels I really like. It's one of my favourite bits, and they really stand out against the dark background that wouldn't have happened with the, yeah, stuff going on down there. Okay, I'm back to do the next layer on this. The second layer's dried, and to be honest, I am not happy with this picture. It's, yeah, I don't know. I just do not like it. It's not working how I want it to work. I find it a lot harder to paint with the jelly gouache than what it is with normal gouache. Normal, like gouache, not acrylic gouache, but gouache, regular gouache, which, I mean, they're the same thing. Both are water-based gouaches, but yeah, the jelly gouache just isn't as nice to work with. I don't know if they put something strange in it to make it jelly-like, and that's what's causing the issues. But it's, yeah, I'm not been happy using it. So the first thing that I didn't like about it is that it's really hard to get the paint the right consistency. I find you've got either a really runny, watery mix that's still very transparent and you can't go over things. Or on the other hand, it's a really thick mix that doesn't flow well. And very hard, like occasionally, if you're lucky, you'll get that nice space in between where you're just getting the paint exactly how you want it. I'm starting to remember a lot of the reasons why I didn't like working with the jelly gouache. I think it's like one of the things I was saying about lifting it, which is good when you want to lift paint, but it also means that when you're working with it, the colours lift from underneath, so you're not getting the colours and the effects that you want. Picks up and reactivates the underlayer of paint. I find that incredibly frustrating. I also found that I don't like, you've got this is quite big. This is against the A4 sketchbook. So that's big. Then you've also got the lid to deal with. Once you take that off, I guess you could sit the paints on top of the lid, and then also needing to have a palette to mix the paints in. And if you don't have a big work area, then it can be quite frustrating to use because, yeah, everything's on top of each other. Whereas if you're using something like the Caran gouache in these little tubes, you're just squirting the tubes into your palette, so you just have this without having that on your desk as well. So that's a consideration. The other thing is, yeah, I just find it really hard to work with and not nice. I find the Caran so much nicer to work with. And I think these are targeted at beginners, but if you're a beginner, that's going to be incredibly frustrating and not nice. So, I don't know. I would probably not bother spending my money on getting jelly gouache again. If I went back in time, I'd say, don't get the jelly gouache, go straight to the good gouache. So let's finish this picture off anyway. Oh, wait. Before I go and work some more on this, because I was getting so frustrated with this, I thought I'd give the gouache a second chance. So I thought I'd work on a picture that's a bit more me, a bit more my style. Because there's so many little houses and things in this picture, it's getting a bit complicated. I figured it was best to once again start with a very thin layer of the jelly gouache and work it up from there. The thin layers of the gouache go down really well. I'm quite happy with that. It's just, yeah, that doing those second and third layers that starts to fall apart a bit. Again, I'm starting to struggle a bit with the lack of tonal values. There are 18 colours in the Jelly Gouache set, but they seem to be around the same tonal range. And so like with these background trees and the water and even some of the buildings, they're very similar colours. And I want to get a bit more variation there. You do get 2 whites and a black in the set, but because those have been used so much, I didn't try and work them into being as activated as the other colours, and I kind of regretted that when I started using them. But yeah, like I would have preferred to have maybe a really dark blue. I do love a dark indigo, and it really does help with that tonal range. I'd liked it that really dark green as well, and the reds, they're all very similar. The yellows do have a bit of variation from that, like lemon yellow through to the more ochre colour. So that's good, but yeah, the sort of leftmost blue does look dark, but when you're using it, it's, yeah, a lot lighter than what you think it's going to be. I didn't mix the colours very much because I found once I started mixing them, they got murky very quickly. Rather than mix the colours on my palette, I have in some places layered colours over the top of each other. I think that worked a lot better than mixing colours. For this final pass, I'm just brightening up the tassels. I think they're a really integral part of the sketch. And then later I'll add some pastel pencil highlights just to like sort of make things pop a bit more. But yeah, still not happy. I like it a bit more than what I did before, but still not all that happy with what I've done. I'm going to leave this sketch right here. I'm not going to work it anymore. I think I've done enough. And I'll just get on with the next one. Yeah, this I guess needs one more pass over to get some of the tonal values, push the tonal values a bit more, and I'd like to add some pencil to it. So let's go. Okay, I've got this finished now. The camera actually cut off while I was painting. I ran out of battery, and so yeah, there's some few bits that I've done to it that you can't see, but yeah, just sort of put in some shadows, tried to darken this under the bridge, and yeah, it was really hard to get any kind of variation into these greens. As I said, the greens are all very similar in tone. And yeah, then I went back in with the white pastel pencil, added some highlights to the water, used a darker pencil to add some more shadows and just some definition around the windows. And that's it. So the Himi gouache, my take on it is if you don't own it, it's not really worth going out and buying, like especially, yeah, there's not much difference in price between this and say the Caran so yeah, go with the Caran, go with tubes. But if you did buy some of this back in the day, when we're all buying our Himi gouache in lockdown and that, and you put it somewhere, it's worth getting it out and reactivating it. I'd probably use it if I was going to use it to do a whole painting with. Probably add in a few other gouache colours to get some of those darker tones. And yeah, get that tonal range happening. So maybe, yeah, grab like a dark blue, like an indigo, or a dark green. Something that's not just a black in a different brand, and keep that with your kit so that you can get some tones happening there. I keep saying tonal range, but yeah, that's something that's so important to get your sketches and paintings looking alive. And finally, I'd say, yeah, because I've got it and I've got it reactivated, it is good to use maybe as a first layer on a multimedia sketch to, yeah, get those big blocks of colours down, and then later on go over it with other materials. I found it not great for doing the whole sketch in. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope you tune in again next week for some more fun. Well, hopefully fun for you, it'll be fun for me. Videos, more fun art. So happy sketching until then.